Welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily Rose, and I'm going to talk about so what I read in the month of October does not deserve an entire video. So this is going to be a mixture of my wrap up and also my November TBR, which I'm super excited about. But so yeah, I will just talk about the one book that I read. I did DNF another book, and so yeah. So the book that I did finish is If We Were Villains. I freaking loved it. I'd feel kind of like an imposter to try to do a rating system. I need to watch more videos on how other people rate their books. I just don't feel like I can properly rate the book without feeling sort of silly because I don't know how other people do it. But I freaking loved every single aspect of it. So I guess it'd be a 5-star if I was rating it, but yes, I loved that book. So I actually studied theater in New York City. I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and we studied Shakespeare there. And to read the story about the drama students and the way that the author put in lines from Shakespeare to coordinate with the story, it was just amazing. I think it's a pretty popular book, but if you have not read it and you are into mysteries and stories about friends, family, love, I definitely recommend that book. I freaking loved it. And like up until the last minute, I felt like maybe I got a little bit less interested in it about halfway through, just because I was like, okay, well, this doesn't make sense to me, how the book ended up the way that it did. But it was totally worth figuring the whole thing out. And I'm so happy that I did. I will definitely be reading that again in the future. Okay, and the book that I DNF'd, which I feel disappointed about, but was Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and I think that's how I say her name. It's not that it's not a super popular book, that it wasn't a good author, that the characters weren't fully realized. Just for me, and in this place in my life with a screaming, crying baby most of the time, I don't want to feel like I'm sitting down and putting time into a story that I'm not particularly into. I will try to, if you read it and feel as if I should read it, if it's worth like getting through. I think I got to like 25% and I was like, I just simply cannot finish it. If you feel like it's definitely worth picking back up, reading all the way through, then please let me know. I just personally was not feeling like I was enjoying it enough to try to push my way through it. But yeah, so if you loved it, I know that it's really a popular book, but I just was finding it too slow for me. So yeah, so now I will be moving on to the books that I'd like to read in the month of November. So the first book that I'm going to be reading is a classic, and it's a beautiful edition. It actually is my mom's, but it's mine now. It is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, and I have been reading it. I hope that the lighting is okay with it. I'll just hold it back here. So I have actually, we are on page 37. Look at these gold lined pages. And there he is, like on the cover. But so the cover alone is beautiful. And I just picked this up off this bookshelf. That is actually not my bookshelf. It's just like the general house's bookshelf. I'm going to slowly be adding my own books and taking off books that I don't particularly care for or anything. But I found this sitting on that bookshelf, and I find it important to read to Roman, and I do read him some of the like typical kids books, but I wanted to read him classics. I haven't heard so many, and I want to read more, and I also want Roman to hear these stories. I want him to be familiar with big words. I want him to have the attention span to be able to listen to a book. So I'm going to read him a classic every month. That is my goal. So yeah, so this month I'm reading him The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and if there are any classics, there are so many that I have not read that, again, I want to read to my son. If you have particular favorite classics that you think that everybody should read, I probably haven't read it, but I want to. So if you leave a comment down below, what I'm going to do is make a TBR jar for classics. So for the book that I read to him every month, let me know down below, and I'm going to make a TBR jar and choose that at the beginning of the next month. So please let me know what your suggestions are for classics, if you have any. Okay, so book number 2, which I'm very much looking forward to, I'm going to start it today, is Women Who Run with the Wolves, and that is by Clarissa Estes, and I have the Audible version, of course. I'm also going to buy the Kindle version because I like to listen to books and read them at the same time. It just helps me better with retention. So I have wanted to read this book ever since I saw Naya. I love you too. So I have wanted to read this book ever since I saw Naya from Naya Reads and Smiles talk about it in her book. I don't know if it was years ago, but I kind of feel like it was. She talks about this book, and it was like one of her favorite books that she had read, and she just said it with such passion that I felt like I needed to read it. And I remember I went to the bookstore immediately after that, and they did not have it. And they offered me to order it, but of course, when I go to the bookstore, I want to walk out with the book. So I just said no, and now here we are years later. I haven't read it still. And I think I heard somebody else talking about it like last week, and I decided to pick it up myself. So it's on my Audible. It's going to be read and listened to, and I am so excited. I'm going to read the summary. Drawing from her work as a psychoanalyst and cantadora, which is a keeper of old stories, Dr. Estes uses myths and folk tales to illustrate how societies systematically strip away the feminine spirit. Ooh. Through an exploration into the nature of the wild woman archetype, Dr. Estes helps listeners rediscover and free their own wild nature, which just sounds awesome. So I'm so excited about that. I'm excited to let you know how I liked it. Okay, and for book number 3 is Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. I am so freaking excited about this book. He is the author of The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I loved that book. If you have not read that book, please do it. But yeah, so he is The Perks of Being a Wallflower author, and this is his first book since then, I do believe. So here is the summary of Imaginary Friend. So it's kind of... Okay, so single mother Kate Reese is on the run. She's trying to improve the life for her and her son Christopher. And then the second paragraph is, at first it seems like the perfect... You can probably hear the baby. I'm so sorry. There's really nothing I can do about it. At first it's, and I'm not just, you can hear the baby. And I am not just leaving him to cry. His dad is with him right now, and sometimes he just cannot be contained. So at first it seems like the perfect place to finally settle down. Then Christopher vanishes. For 6 awful days, no one can find him, until Christopher emerges from the woods at the edge of town, unharmed but not unchanged. He returns with a voice in his head only he can hear, with a mission only he can complete. Build a treehouse in the woods by Christmas, or his mother and everyone in the town will never be the same again. That just sounds freaking awesome to me, and I loved his writing style and The Perks of Being a Wallflower. So I'm very, very excited to read this book. Again, I have this one on Audible, and I will probably also get it on Kindle. Or maybe I'll see if the library has it. I still do need to go to the library to see what they have so that I'm not buying everything also on my Kindle. But yes. So those are the 3 books that I plan to get to this month. Last month I read 1, so I'm not going to get too crazy with putting all of these books on my TBR and not being able to get to them, and then feeling let down that I cannot read all of these books. Okay, so I am here trying to edit this, and I realize once getting to the end of the video that the last minute was cut off. So here I am finishing it properly, and I just wanted to thank you so much for watching it to the end if you did, and be sure to comment down below if you do have any of those recommendations, or if you did read If We Were Villains. If you liked this video, then thumbs up it. Don't thumbs down. And I'll talk to you next time. Thanks.